Before Toys R Us became the undisputed king of toys, there was another name. A name plastered on mall entrances across America. A place where kids dragged their parents in during holiday shopping sprees, their eyes lighting up the second they spotted the bold red sign. That name was KB Toys. For decades, KB was everywhere, inside malls, strip centers, and outlets. While Toys R Us dominated the big box format, KB carved out a very different strategy. Smaller stores, packed wall-to-wall with toys, often right where the customers already were. You didn't need to make a special trip. KB was waiting for you the moment you walked into the mall. But by the late 2000s, KB Toys was gone, bankrupt, liquidated, forgotten. So what happened? How did one of the biggest toy retailers in America go from mall mainstay to history? This is the story of the rise and fall of KB Toys, the forgotten rival of Toys R Us. In 1922, the Kaufman brothers, Harry and Joseph, opened a wholesale candy store in Massachusetts. Candy was their bread and butter, but they noticed something interesting over time. Toys sold better, and the profit margins were higher. Parents were willing to splurge a little more when it came to making their kids happy. By the 1940s, the Kaufmans leaned into that realization, shifting their focus almost entirely to toys. And in 1948, the business officially rebranded as KB Toy and Hobby. From the start, their model was unique. Instead of chasing the giant standalone warehouse-style stores that Toys R Us would later be famous for, KB went where the people already were: malls. Their shops were small but loud. Bright red signage, bins overflowing with toys, and aisles crammed with color. The effect was irresistible, especially to kids. Parents couldn't walk past without a tug on the sleeve. By the 1980s, America was in the middle of a mall boom, and KB rode this wave perfectly. At their peak, they had over 1,300 stores nationwide. What made KB so powerful wasn't flashy marketing campaigns or beloved mascots. It was simply being in the right place every single time. Think about it. In the 80s and 90s, going to the mall was almost a ritual. Teenagers roamed the food courts, families shopped for clothes and household goods, and holidays turned malls into madhouses. And tucked in between the shoe stores, clothing shops, and arcades was KB Toys, waiting like a trap ready to spring. Their stores weren't sprawling playgrounds like Toys R Us. Instead, they were compact, fast, and filled to the brim. Every inch of space mattered, and their business model leaned heavily on discounts. Unlike Toys R Us, which focused on carrying every hot toy at retail price, KB became famous for its clearance bins. They'd buy up overstock and unsold toys from other retailers at bargain prices, and then resell them. Parents loved the deals. Kids didn't care if it was last season's action figure or a movie tie-in toy that had already faded. If it was fun and affordable, it went in the shopping bag. For a while, the formula worked brilliantly. By the 1990s, KB Toys had become the second largest toy retailer in America, right behind Toys R Us. And the rivalry between the two was fascinating. Toys R Us dominated the big box, warehouse-style toy experience. KB dominated the mall impulse buy market. If Toys R Us was a destination, KB was the ambush. You might not have planned on buying toys during a mall trip, but your kids almost always made sure you left with one. But cracks were starting to show. By relying so heavily on clearance toys, KB often struggled to stock the hottest new releases. If you wanted the brand new Nintendo, the latest Power Rangers set, or the must-have movie tie-in, KB wasn't always the place. They were strong on variety, but weak on timing. And as video games grew into a cultural juggernaut, KB lagged behind in offering electronics and consoles compared to competitors. Meanwhile, Walmart, Target, and Kmart were all rapidly expanding their toy aisles. Suddenly, toys weren't just in malls. They were everywhere, mixed into weekly shopping trips for groceries and clothes. And that spelled trouble. The biggest blow came in 1996, when KB Toys was bought by the private equity firm Bain Capital. On paper, Bain's goal was growth, but in practice, it was the same story that would later cripple Toys R Us, a leveraged buyout that buried the company in debt. Instead of modernizing stores or investing in e-commerce, KB was forced to funnel profits into paying off that debt. Bain also pushed KB to expand aggressively into outlet malls, opening hundreds of new stores in just a few years. The gamble increased their footprint, but profitability sank. Too many stores, too much overhead, and not enough sales. By the early 2000s, KB was gasping for air. Then came the killer blow, Amazon. As shopping shifted online, mall traffic began to collapse. Remember, KB's entire model relied on impulse buys from mall visitors. No foot traffic meant no sales. Meanwhile, Amazon and Walmart.com were offering toys cheaper, faster, and with virtually unlimited selection. Parents loved it. Click, ship, done. KB, still weighed down by debt, couldn't pour resources into building a serious online presence. Their website lagged behind, their pricing wasn't competitive, and their stores began to look dated. It was only a matter of time. In 2004, KB Toys filed for bankruptcy for the first time. Hundreds of stores were closed in an attempt to survive, but the decline didn't stop. By 2008, the global financial crisis hit, crushing consumer spending right when KB needed holiday sales the most. That same year, they filed for bankruptcy again. This time, there was no saving it. In 2009, Toys R Us swooped in and bought the remnants of KB Toys. But the move wasn't about reviving the brand, it was about eliminating a rival. The KB name, logo, and website were absorbed, but the stores themselves disappeared. After nearly 90 years in business, KB Toys was gone. So, why isn't KB remembered the way Toys R Us is? Part of it comes down to scale. Toys R Us was global, with stores across continents. KB was mostly regional, tied to American malls. Part of it comes down to culture. Toys R Us had Jeffrey the Giraffe, TV commercials, and jingles that stuck in your head. KB had clearance bins and mall placements. It was effective, but not iconic. Still, for kids who grew up in the 80s and 90s, KB Toys was everywhere. It was the store you begged your parents to stop at while they shopped for clothes. The place where you dug through piles of action figures, hoping to uncover a hidden gem. It made the mall experience feel magical. And then, just like the malls themselves, it vanished. Looking back, could KB Toys have been saved? Some argue yes. Without the crushing debt from Bain Capital, KB might have had the resources to pivot into e-commerce. If they had leaned into creating in-store experiences, like what Lego stores or Build-A-Bear would later do, maybe kids would have begged to visit. But realistically, the mall-based retail model was doomed. Even without debt, the collapse of malls across America would have hit KB hard. In many ways, KB's downfall mirrors the story of the American mall itself. Built for a different era, unable to evolve fast enough for the internet age. Here's a twist. KB Toys almost came back. In 2018, a toy distributor called Strategic Marks announced plans to revive the brand. They promised pop-up KB stores in time for the holiday season, right after Toys R Us collapsed. There was excitement. Nostalgia was high. For a brief moment, it looked like KB might get a second life. But without deep funding or a new retail vision, the plan fizzled. Once again, the dream faded. KB Toys may not have the same cultural immortality as Toys R Us, but its place in American toy history is undeniable. For nearly a century, it shaped childhood shopping trips, fueled holiday traditions, and defined mall culture. Its rise was built on the golden age of malls. Its fall mirrored their decline, and its story, like Toys R Us, reminds us of a hard truth. Nostalgia alone can't save a business. Adaptation is everything. But for those who grew up in the 80s and 90s, one thing will never fade: the memory of that red logo, those clearance bins, and that magical moment when a simple trip to the mall turned into a surprise toy hunt. So, were you a Toys R Us kid or a KB Toys kid? Let us know your memories down below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.